I finally got it, ladies and gentlemen. I got Law's hat. The actual hat. The real hat, not a replica, okay? Now, this is an exciting story, and it also kind of involves you all a little bit, so just... I apologize in advance, but it's something I had to do to get Law's hat. I think you all would have made the same trade, okay? So, Law's hat was there. It was in the possession of Blackbeard after the last chapter. Beppo, he goes Sulong and knocks back Blackbeard and Augur and everybody and grabs Law and gets them away from the island. It's like, okay, but Blackbeard had the possession of the hat. So that means I had to make a trade. So I went to Hachinosu and I met with Blackbeard and I made a trade. And he agreed to give me Law's hat, his signature hat, for half of my YouTube subscribers, for them to be part of his crew and work for... Hey, guys, listen, this isn't going to be that bad, okay? This isn't going to be that bad, all right? First of all, I didn't even know I could do that, but apparently it worked out, okay? Anyway, so half of you are now in allegiance to Blackbeard and his crew. Some of you might even achieve the rank... Hey, you might get devil fruit powers. You might become Titanic captains. Who knows, there might be some openings coming up soon, all right? So, it's all gonna be okay. And in exchange, I got a really cool hat. So, there you go. No hard feelings, right? All right. So, hey, everybody, how you doing? Techie101, Barry here. Today, we're going to be talking about One Piece Chapter 1081. I think we're going to start with the Law stuff. I feel like that stuff's a little overshadowed, just because, most of the chapter is focused on Kuzan, but I already talked a lot about Kuzan. The last two videos I made on the channel, the review and then the live stream, both have Kuzan in the thumbnail, so I wanted to mix it up a little bit before we get back into talking about him, because there is still a lot of stuff to discuss with Aokiji. But, at the end of the chapter, really, and only like the last, I think it was just a double-page spread, really, two double-page spreads, I think, back-to-back. We had the scene where the Polar Tang was completely obliterated, at least, snapped in half. And actually, we don't really know how that happened. Probably them trying to escape because the sub was damaged, and then they surfaced at Winter Island. And, Law was like, hey, go and fix the submarine and make sure it can sail and, it can submerge and everything, and then we're going to hold off Blackbeard. So the implication, I don't know. I mean, I think there was that line of dialogue that was like, didn't Law say to, winner take all, or Blackbeard said winner take all, or something along those lines? But I don't know. I feel like if Law had an out, if Law could conceivably fix up the submarine and they could get on and all escape, they would do that if they could manage that, all right? I don't think Law was really in the mood for a fight to the death with Blackbeard if there was another way around it. Now, Kid, on the other hand, he was the one that was like, all right, Shanks is there, fight to the death. I'm just going to go forward, full power, okay? Law, I feel like, all right, I will fight and my crew will fight, but if we have a chance to escape and get out of here, we're going to do that, all right? Well, maybe they fixed up the sub, the Polar Tang, and they're like, all right, everybody, Jean Bart, get in there. All right, everybody ready to go. Let's dive. And then, Blackbeard sent out a wave, a quake, which, the shockwave traveled through the water and then hit the submarine dead on and just snapped it like a freaking bathtub toy. You know what I mean? So we saw Jean Bart and everybody kind of floating around in the water. Now, the good thing is most of Law's crew, in fact, all of Law's crew really, except for Law himself, have no devil fruit abilities, okay? And that was something that was actually kind of an advantage that Law had over a lot of New World crews. He was basically even saying this to Blackbeard, like, hey, you got a lot of anchors on your crew right now, Blackbeard, because all of his, strongest officers, every named character in Blackbeard's crew, which are just the 10 Titanic captains, we don't know any other person that's in Blackbeard's crew. I feel like there are a few other, high-ranking members. I'm sure it's not just the 10 Titanic captains and then random riffraff pirates that have really no maybe in the Four Blues, if you take a random member of Blackbeard's crew and throw him in the East, maybe he'll be the Don Krieg of the East or something like that with a bounty of 17 million. But I don't think they're super weak sauce, but I don't know, we haven't really seen anybody on his crew that has I don't know, 300-400 million berry bounty or something. We're going to get back to that in a moment, though, because that might be relevant for what's going to happen, right? So, Law's like, hey, I have a crew that specializes in maritime combat that have used to fighting in the cold, frozen waters of the north. I'm sure they've taken down a lot of crews that rely on Devil Fruit abilities, like an anti-Devil Fruit kind of focus, okay? The problem is, of course, this isn't your average Devil Fruit crew. This is Blackbeard. He's a Yonko. He's got 2 Devil Fruits, and also they've been actively hunting powerful Devil Fruits to give to their members through their more specific attributes. So the super strong Luchadore, Jesus Burgess, gets the super strength fruit. The sniper, Van Augur, gets the teleportation fruit. The doctor, who is a very sickly man, gets the sick fruit, which I'm assuming actually Doc Q probably had his ability beforehand, because that just lines up a little bit more. So, yeah, they snap the Polar Tang. I don't think Bart or anybody's gonna die, there. They might have gotten knocked out, but they'll be fine. They're not gonna sink. And so then on the surface, it was just, you saw Law and Beppo beat on the ground. We don't see Sachi or Penguin anywhere, and, they're there, and Blackbeard's just kind of looming over Law. First thing he does is he brings up the Rocky Port incident, which is something I kind of glossed over. So to kind of break this down now, we can kind of figure out at least all the different moving parts of that. We know that the Rocky Port is located at Hachinosu in the New World, Pirate Island. We know that before Blackbeard took it over, it was ruled by Ochoku, or Wang Zhi, in all of his Wang Zhi greatness. So he rolled over that, and then we know that Law stole the 100 hearts that he gave to the Marines to become the warlord. That was from the Rocky Port incident, okay? So Law really kind of orchestrated this whole plan, because that's what Law does. He's a tactician. He did kind of the same thing with, like, his first plan was like, all right, I'm going to become a warlord. Next plan, I'm going to take down, Doflamingo. It was kind of all part of the same plan. So his step 1 plan was to go to Hachinosu, make a big scene by stealing 100 hearts from pirates there, and then turning those over to the Marines in exchange for becoming a warlord. Then, utilizing that title of warlord, Law would then be able to get to Punk Hazard, and then Caesar, and then the SAD, and then eventually take out the Smiles, which would eventually piss off Kaido, which would eventually result in Kaido fighting Doflamingo. By the way, that never happened. That hypothetical battle never happened. The plan didn't work out the way that Law planned. But, dude, I would have loved to see the fight. I would have loved to see Kaido roll up to Dressrosa and be like, Joker, where are the damn fruits? And I would just love to see Doflamingo, like, how would Doflamingo even responded to that? Because I don't see Doflamingo being his usual cheery, like, ha 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 ha, oh, Kaido, you don't understand. No, I think Doflamingo would have shit his pants, all right, and been like, oh, God, oh, no. Like, what would he have done? What would he have done? Like, Kaido's just rampaging through Dressrosa in a dragon form. Oh, God, that would have been awesome to see. And I need to do a what if about that. I'm writing that down. We're doing what if Kaido were to fight Doflamingo. What if Kaido were to curb stomp Doflamingo? That's how that would go. All right, I wrote that down. All right, so, Blackbeard mentions that the men that he stole the hearts from are still at the Hachinosu, the Rocky Port. Okay, now, a couple of weird things about that, just as a caveat. So, Law removed those hearts with his Op fruit, which means the hearts would continue to still beat and provide all of the functionality that a normal heart does. It's just not inside of your body, right? However, Law gave those hearts to the Marines or the government, so I'm a little intrigued that the government didn't immediately, like, crush those hearts. Then again, how did the government know where the hearts were from pirates? Law just literally rolled up. We see the scene in the anime. He literally just rolls up with a big box, like a crate, that's just filled with still beating human hearts, and, like, make me a warlord. And I would assume that the government would be like, yeah, sure, shit, make him a warlord. We have 3 openings we need to fill. Sure, might as well make him one, but, like, dear God, what do we do with these hearts? I'm like, I don't know, like, I guess just put them in a freezer somewhere, and that might be actually what they did. Just throw them in the box and throw them in some storage shed somewhere at Marineford, because they clearly didn't, I mean, it's probably smart they didn't just like, oh, these are pirate hearts? All right, let's destroy them, because they don't know where the hearts came from. The hearts could have come from civilians for all they knew. I think it was less the fact that Law stole the hearts from pirates and more that just Law did that. when somebody rolls up to the Marines with a giant crate full of 100 still beating actual human hearts, it's like, all right, okay, yeah, we'll make you a warlord. Just please don't do that anymore, because that's really scary, you know. So that's probably why the people on Hachinosu are still alive. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is that the individuals where those hearts were stolen from, the pirates, were probably not Blackbeard's crew. Those pirates were probably members of Wang's crew, because Wang was the one in charge of the island. Blackbeard didn't take over until after the Rocky Port incident had kind of settled, okay? So, I don't know how this went exactly. We still don't know the exact particulars, but Law could have invaded Hachinosu with Wang there, stole the hearts of all of Wang's men, and then Kobe got involved at some point. It was also mentioned Kobe saved civilians at the Rocky Port, which means that it wasn't just a pure pirate island during the time Wang was in control of it. That makes me think, honestly, that Wang Ji was a retired pirate. He was just completely like, I'm done. Maybe he was brutally wounded after the events of God Valley, and he was like missing a leg or something, and he was just like, I can't fight anymore. And he might have been pushing like well into his 80s or maybe even 90s, depending. I mean, God Valley was 38 years ago. Like, you got to think about it. Like, let's say Wang was like 50 years old during God Valley, kind of at his like physical peak, somewhere around his 40s or 50s. That would put him close to 90 right now, you know, like 2 years ago. So maybe Wang was just a retired pirate that lived on the island, and maybe there were civilians that moved there, and he's like, all right, sure, I'll protect you. Why not? You know, the government really doesn't come here, so I'll protect you guys, you civilians. And then the whole events happened with Law, and then Kobe happened, saved everybody. And then after that, you know, chaos and everything, and Wang Ji was basically ousted. That was when Blackbeard moved into Hachinosu, right? And now it is purely just a pirate island, like completely, right? So could have been something like that. So they mentioned the Rocky Port, and then the other thing that Blackbeard brings up is, of course, the op fruit, because this was a thing that a lot of people were like, oh, okay, so what's going to happen with the op fruit? You know, people, I think, were expecting Blackbeard to just roll up to Egghead Island with, like, the room powers. You know, he just shows up and just, Zah! Room! And it's like, oh, no, oh, no. So good news, first and foremost, good news. Law still has the op fruit, because it was confirmed by Blackbeard as he was like looming over him, and he was pretty sure Law was defeated, and he was about to deliver the coup de grace, coup de burst? No, coup de grace. There we go. It was coup de grace as like finishing blow. Coup de burst, that's something else. Coup de vent, something else altogether. There's a lot of coups in One Piece. Dragon's even planning a coup right now. So crazy, right? A lot of coups in One Piece. The news coup, that's another coup. There you go. All right. But anyway, Blackbeard, he's kind of like thinking about what to do with the op fruit. He's like, Zah! The op fruit, eh? What are we gonna do with it, men? We gonna sell it? We gonna use it? You wouldn't fancy making me immortal, would you, Law? Immortal Blackbeard. That would be epic. Zah! So let's go through those options here. Option number one, he throws out selling it. Keep in mind, that might seem like a waste, but keep in mind, this fruit, the government was willing to pay 5 billion berries for this fruit alone. 5 big B's, all right? That is essentially the bounty of Whitebeard and Roger. Whitebeard's bounty was like 5,046 million, and Roger's was like 5.5 billion. So pretty damn close to the highest bounty for piracy that has ever existed in One Piece. The government was willing to fork that over for a single fruit, purely because it can provide immortality or eternal youth to somebody. Also, all the other applications the op fruit provides. Doflamingo mentioned that the people that call this fruit the ultimate devil fruit in the world are not small. Like, a lot of people consider this the ultimate paramecia, the ultimate fruit in general, right? So, you know, you might be thinking, like, that's kind of wasteful for Blackbeard to just sell it. But remember, I mean, Blackbeard, he's got a lot of nefarious schemes in his back pocket, right? A lot of times I feel like Blackbeard doesn't even know the plan, like the end goal. He just kind of comes up with an idea and just kind of rolls with it. You know what I mean? He's just like, yes, the warlords got abolished. Yeah, let's go after, Amazon Lily. Let's go try to get boas. It's just kind of like that kind of stuff. Some stuff's going on at Egghead. All right, let's go over there. You know what I mean? Yeah, that seems like Blackbeard. I don't think he plans these things out 100%, but he just kind of gets moving on it, right? Well, hey, let's not, overlook the monetary benefits of this. If they ended up getting 5 billion berries, you could do a lot of stuff with that. You're basically super filthy rich at that point, okay? Now, you would question whether or not the government would even bite on that, though. The initial exchange was between Diaz Barrels, who was a former Marine turned pirate that was ex-Drake's or Diaz Drake's father, okay? So, he was not a Yonko. Diaz Barrels was not a Yonko. Diaz Barrels was not a warlord. Diaz Barrels was not like some crazy powerful pirate. He was a former Marine, so there was connections there. But the idea of Diaz Barrels getting 5 billion berries, had that exchange went through, had that transaction completed, he would have probably just used that money to just, I don't know, buy an island somewhere in the north, get a big mansion, and just get drunk. You know what I mean? I don't think you'd have to worry about Diaz Barrels using the 5 billion berries to try to take over the world or become a Yonko. I mean, maybe he would have, but who knows? So I think the government kind of weighed their options there. All right, we give some random pirate in the north 5 big ones, and then we get the ultimate devil fruit, which we could then use to make one of our own Marines. We could make the fleet admiral or one of the admirals immortal, essentially. All the other stuff you could do with it, we could give the fruit to one of the admirals. I mean, this fruit is crazy powerful, okay? So I think in that particular instance, the government felt like it was worth it, okay? In this instance, exchanging the Op-Op fruit for giving a Yonko fleet 5 billion, I mean, that would not be a decision. I think it's only the Marines that were able to make that call, like Sengoku and stuff back in the day with Diaz Barrels. They were able to make that call by themselves. With this situation, it would have to be the Gorosei. The Gorosei, or rather Eam, would have to be the one to make that decision on whether or not you would exchange 5 billion for, with a Yonko fleet in order to get this fruit, okay? I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just that they would have to go a little bit higher up the chain. At least Kong would have to get involved. Kong would have to get involved, or the Gorosei themselves would have to make that decision at the end of the day, okay? But it's possible. It's feasible. Also, Blackbeard might, Zehaha! I heard you were gonna sell this for 5 billion. Tell you what, world government, 10 billion big ones! And it's all yours. That's the kind of stuff he would do. He would kind of raise the price. And unlike Diaz Barrels that didn't really have a lot of haggling power, Blackbeard kind of does. Blackbeard's just check it out, world government. Ultimate devil fruit right here. Immortality, eternal youth, all yours for just 10 billion. There you go. We know you have it. You know what I mean? And the government might be like, he's literally dangling the forbidden fruit in front of us right now. And they might have to consider it, okay? Well, that's option one. If Blackbeard had 5 billion, 10 billion berries, I mean, he could really expand his fleet. He can install a jacuzzi on the island. I mean, he could do a lot of stuff, He could, I don't know, have season tickets at Disney. I don't know. Pictured Blackbeard going to Disney. I don't know. I love this. Magic Mountain. Let's go, Augur. Okay. All right. That's a really stupid kind of hypothetical, but my God, that is hilarious. Just picturing Blackbeard and the 10 Titanic captains going to Disney World, just walking around. What would they each do? You know what I mean? Okay, well, for Kuzan, I think is easy. I can feel like there would be a Frozen kind of stage show. It's been a while since I've been to Disney World. Last time I went was in 2018. Shout out to CJ. Yeah, okay. How you doing, man? All right. So anyway, but last time I was there was in 2018. It was an amazing time. We didn't get a chance to see everything. We went to Magic Kingdom and Epcot, and it was great. So if let's say there's a Frozen stage show with Elsa and everybody there. I could see Kuzan walking on there and making actual ice, Magic Mountain of Ala Pizarro just merges with it and just, undulates the roller coaster. We could do that. I don't know. It would just be weirdly funny. Oh my God. Doc Q handing out the apples. That's horrible, by the way, but it's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale reference, okay? It's just oh my God. Anyway. Okay, so after Blackbeard gets a season pass forever at Disney World. They could do some other stuff with it too. They can expand their fleet, get better weapons. They can maybe buy Vegapunk weapons. Who knows? Vegapunk is always, oh my god, Vegapunk is always looking for capital. He's always looking for money. That's like the one thing he's brought up like every time we meet him. Vegapunk's like, oh, Quasar, if only we had more funds, I'd be able to build more robots. You know, it's like, well, what if Blackbeard gets a crap load of money from selling this thing and then rolls up to Egghead like, hey, Vegapunk, guess what? We got 10 billion big ones if you kind of want to come work for us. Might not even be the main Stella body. Could just be York. Oh my god. Is that why they're there? Is this because we don't know? Okay. Timelines. We got to think about timelines here. I'm assuming all of this stuff was happening concurrently, like at the same time. You know, like kids fighting Shanks, Laws fighting Blackbeard, Garps fighting Kuzan, Straw Hats at Egghead. That's all happening relatively at the same time. But you could mess with the timelines a little bit here. You could scale it back a little bit, like the whole deal with that there. So, Blackbeard did not get the op fruit, I guess. So yeah, he didn't actually get the fruit unless they chased after Beppo and captured him. I guess that's the case. Maybe that was the plan. Maybe that was the idea. The idea to get the op fruit, sell it, have money, and then maybe you could get one of the Vegapunks to work for you. Maybe. Okay. So, using it, that was the other option. People have brought up, like, well, Blackbeard, does that confirm that Blackbeard could then have 3 devil fruits? Because the Quake fruit, the Yami, and also the Op fruit at that point. I don't think that confirms that he can use 3. I've never thought that Blackbeard can use 3. He could. He easily could. But there has to be a hard limit somewhere. I don't think Blackbeard could control, like 10 devil fruits at once. Okay, so 2 right now, maybe 3. Maybe 3, if you want to go with the multiple soul theory. I've also thrown around the idea a lot that Blackbeard kind of is like All For One a little bit from My Hero Academia, where All For One has the ability to kind of like move quirks between people. So if he wanted to, he can give, like, he could take a quirk away from somebody and give it back to somebody else. So, maybe Blackbeard could do that. Maybe Blackbeard could, like, if Shiryu was tired of using the invisibility fruit and he wanted something else, he could take that away from Shiryu and give him something else and keep that devil fruit in, like, fruit form or in storage somewhere. It could be something like that. Also, like I mentioned earlier, there's probably other strong members of Blackbeard's crew beyond just the 10 Titanic captains. Other members that might receive a devil fruit, okay? I don't think it's just the 11 of them and just some random riffraff. Got to be at least a couple of other people that are fairly competent, right? Also, I mean, if Blackbeard did get the op fruit and he did want to become immortal, he could just feed his fruit to, like, some random underling and just be like, all right, here's the deal, random dude. I'm going to give you this fruit. You're going to become the user of the op fruit. You got to perform the immortality surgery on me. You'll die, but we'll just kill you anyway if you don't comply with this. So yeah, I'm wondering if the user of the op fruit, I would assume you would have to know about, like, surgery and being a doctor and a surgeon in order to perform the immortality operation. I'm assuming you can't just, like, eat the fruit and just instantly know how to perform the surgery, because, like, Law had to train with it for a number of years. But if Blackbeard were to capture, he could just capture a random doctor, like the best doctor somewhere in the Grand Line, or like one of the best doctors, and just force him to eat the fruit and just do that, I guess. But yeah, or he could feed the fruit to, I mean, if he can switch out fruits with his captains, he could give the fruit to, like, Augur or somebody, or Doc Q, I guess would be the best one. Like, take away the sick fruit, give him the op fruit, and then Doc Q could have Law's powers. I mean, if he is able to do that. If not, he'll have to give it to another member of his crew, or if he's really able to have 3, then he'll have that one. But he doesn't, so that's good, all right? So, after this, we have the scene with Beppo, and I love this scene. Beppo has finally come out of the shadows and is truly the most powerful being in all of One Piece, all right? So, it seems like it's some kind of medicine that Chopper gave to Beppo. Now, originally, I assumed it was a Rumble Ball. Upon further, discovery of this, people commenting and everything, thinking about this, it was probably not a regular Rumble Ball. Because it really doesn't make any sense for Chopper to just take a regular-ass Rumble Ball and just give it to Beppo and, like, yeah, this will probably work. No, but Chopper had been working with Miyagi and Tristan and Carrot, and he was familiar with the Minx biology at this point, and he probably just arrived at the conclusion of, like, wait a second. Minks are able to transform into this Sulong form where their body changes and their eyes, change, and then their fur goes crazy and their electro gets jumped through the roof. Their agility and strength and endurance and all that stuff go crazy through the roof. So what if Chopper's like, okay, your bodies are clearly capable of undergoing this transformation. The only thing that's missing is the trigger, the impetus for these transformations, which is staring at the moon. Now, we don't know why it activates that way, but it's like Chopper's like, okay, your bodies are capable of undergoing this transformation. So in theory, you should be able, like, I should be able to make a drug to be able to activate this, you know what I mean? And so he messed with it. And to be fair, when Beppo was reminiscing about Chopper giving him, it probably looks like a rumble ball. It's just not a rumble ball. It's just like, I'm not sure if this will work, but here you go. So the idea is Chopper didn't really have a lot of chances to test it all that much, but it's like, okay, I mean, I studied mink biology. This should work. And so Beppo's like, all right, well, I got to give it a shot. There might be a downside to it. Now, when Beppo used it, he went into his Sulong really briefly and just swiped at Blackbeard and Augur, kind of knocking them down, grabbed Law, and then got the hell out of there. He skedaddled, okay? And he instantly went from Sulong back into his normal bear form. So maybe this medicine really only works for like a couple seconds. Maybe it's like you get a 10-second Sulong transformation. That's it. Just a brief, just... And it's like, that's it. Hi, everybody. I'm Beppo! Okay, hi. I'm back to being Beppo again. You know what I mean? And that's just it, okay? So we got to see Beppo's Sulong, which was something that was hinted at for a while by Oda. Very epic stuff. Still not 100% if that form was like his normal Sulong, like what he would normally go into, or if it's a little bit beefier because of the pill. But either way, very impressive. So, you know, didn't defeat Blackbeard or anything, but was able to knock him back, take him by surprise. Not something that was expected. I think Augur started launching shots, and Beppo didn't really seem to be concerned with that all too much. So, yeah, not a big deal. Increases his endurance there. But polar bears are able to swim pretty good, so grabs Law and just get out of there. They left his hat behind, unfortunately. So, if anything else, dude, okay. Unironically, though, next time we see Blackbeard, I want to see him wearing Law's hat. I want to see him, because Blackbeard has like that really elaborate, like piratey kind of hat. I would love if he just threw that hat on top of himself, or if like Augur's wearing the hat, or Doc Q's wearing the hat, or just, I want somebody in, they give it to Stronger. Stronger's wearing the hat. Like, I don't know, man. I just really want one of the Blackbeard pirates to be wearing Law's hat next time for like practical reasons. So they're wearing the hat, so the next time that Law fights against them, or maybe the Straw Hats fight against them, and they're like, hey, that's Traffy's hat. I'm going to get it back for him, you know? And they could steal it, kind of like how Mr. 2 always started to wear Usopp's goggles after the events of, like, when they first, like, met and everything like that. And so Sanji defeated Mr. 2, Bon Clay, and then took the goggles and gave them back to Usopp. Kind of like something like that, right? So I want to see that. I like to see that. Or like when that lizard guy stole my sword in One Piece D&D. I'm still pissed I didn't get a chance to kill that guy. But anyway, yeah. So we got to get the hat back. That's obviously integral. But where are Beppo and Law heading? So I did a stream with Dax Sake a couple days ago, and we were throwing out ideas, and I thought that, like, okay, he might be heading to Zou. Beppo might be heading back to Zou. Because remember, Zunisha was parked right outside of Wano, and they went to Wiener Island from Wano. Probably a couple days travel. But last time we saw Zunisha, it was right outside Wano. So, you know, the idea that Zunisha is still wandering the waters around this general region of the New World, not completely ridiculous. And it was mentioned before, I think by Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, that minks have like a natural homing kind of sense, like a magnetic animal homing instinct for like Zunisha. Like they know where it is. So, I mean, I guess they could go back to Wano as well, because they're allotted as heroes there. I guess they could have went back to Wano, but if Zunisha's closer, and Beppo would know exactly where Zunisha is. He is also the navigator, keep that in mind. He's the navigator of the Heart Pirates, so he would know his way around the ocean. But also Law is like, oh god, I'm dying. So, but Law also has the Op fruit, so they could always just find a deserted island or like an islet somewhere in the New World, and then Law could be like, all right, Beppo, just hang on a second, I need to stitch up my body. Okay, we're good. I won't die immediately. It's like, all right. And so, but I think getting back to Zou would be fine. Then we get to touch base and see what's up with the minks and see what's going on with, like, Carrot. Carrot's there as, like, the Duchess of Zou, and she's like, I don't know what to do. You know, I was not prepared for this position. You know what I mean? And so that would be interesting. And then we get to see all of them, and maybe Beppo could, like, give, and I think Dax brought that up, like, maybe, like, Beppo could bring the medicine that Chopper provided. Although if Chopper made one of those for Beppo, I imagine he made some he gave to the other minks, like Rhodey and Carrot and Wanda and everybody like that. Neko and Inu might have one as well on Wano because they stayed there. So yeah, I think it's not a big deal. I don't think it's going to be like Beppo and Law are going to die in the ocean or something like that. I think they could reach Zoe fairly easily. At least that makes sense for Beppo being a mink, and then they could heal them up, and then they could figure out what to do next. It's just like the minks might offer. Well, I don't know, because the minks just got done fighting a really serious battle at Wano. Their wounds have probably not healed entirely yet, and even if they have healed, would the minks be so eager to launch into another battle with another Yonko right after Onigashima, But the minks are also very loyal, and Beppo is one of them. So if Beppo shows up and he's like, my friends, maybe not the whole minks, like not all of them, but they might get a strike team together. They might get the Forest Guardians, some musketeers like Sicilian and Giovanni, Consulate. They might all come together. Maybe, I don't know if Carrot would join because Carrot's the Duchess. She has to stay there, but Wanda might, you know what I mean? So they might all come together and might be like, all right, we're going to go and help Law's hat back. Also, their crew. I was like, oh, okay. So that could be a thing there. I think that plan is pretty good. And then, of course, we have Blackbeard's crew that's arrived at Egghead. I think we're going to switch back to Egghead the next chapter. It's a break week right now. It's Golden Week in Japan. But I think the next one's going to be... next chapter is going to be Egghead, and we're going to see what's up with the Blackbeard ship there. The only two captains that are unaccounted for now are Katarina Devon, captain of the 6th ship, and Lafitte, captain of the 5th ship. Katarina, of course, having the mythical Kitsune zone, able to transform into people, and Lafitte has some previously unknown winged bird, mythically angel, biblically accurate angel kind of fruit, and he can hypnotize people. We know that for certain. He can hypnotize, and Katarina can turn into people. So put those two together, and you have a very devastating combination, all right? But, yeah, that's the situation with Law. Let me all know down below and what you think would happen there. What would Law, what would Law and Beppo be heading after this? Where would they be going? How would they get their crew back? I'm assuming the crew themselves are just going to be captured by Blackbeard, probably thrown in the same cell with Pudding, like Pudding's in the cell, and then, like, Jean Bart and everybody and Sachi and Penguin get tossed in, and Sachi and Penguin are next to Pudding and be like, oh, who are you? Charlotte Pudding, the daughter of Big Mom. Oh, cool. We dropped her into a hole at Wano. Oh. Does Pudding even know what happened to Big Mom? Pudding was like, oh, Big Mom, Mama's not dead. She's going to hurt you out. Did she know exactly what happened? She might have just heard, like, Big Mom went to Wano and then was defeated. She might have not have heard the particulars. Sachi and Penguin, and they get thrown in the jail cell with Pudding. They would be able to bring her all up to speed on, like, yeah, the captain created a giant hole, dropped Big Mom into it, and then caused it to volcanically erupt. Like, it's like, oh, well, Mama will still probably be fine. She might still be able to survive that. We don't know. So, it connects back to that. Also, would have Blackbeard retrieved the poneglyphs and the etchings that Law had? So, Dak Stack Sake, go check out his channel. I'll put a card up here. Probably should be one already up here. But, he brought up the idea, same thing kind of with Brook at Totland, who hid the poneglyph etchings in his skull. Law, with his ability, could easily have hid the poneglyph etchings in his own body, because the submarine has been destroyed. So the submarine, if the etchings were on the submarine, they're just going to sink to the bottom of the ocean. I don't think Jean Bart or Sachi or Penguin would have the etchings on them. So I'm feeling like Law would keep that on his person at all times, okay? And, yeah, I mean, and you might say, I even brought this up in Dak's stream, it's just like, with Brook, keeping those 3 giant etchings in his skull don't make any sense, like, logically. It's like hammer space, because it's like your skull's not that big, and these etchings are, like, huge, like 40 by 40, like giant pieces of parchment paper, right? And there were 3 of them that Brook kept in there, right? Alongside a tone dial. So there's a lot of space in Brook's head. So if we're going by, like, anime logic, you could, like, I'm really gonna compress these etchings and, like, just do that. Law could probably do that. I don't think it would be that insane for him to do that, right? So he probably still has the etchings on him. Blackbeard didn't say anything about stealing his poneglyph etchings, but we'll see where it goes. Although, Law if Beppo, if they do go to Zoe, that is where one of the previously unknown poneglyphs, Blackbeard doesn't know where the Zoe one is. So if they go back to Zoe and Blackbeard's following them to Zoe, then we have Blackbeard, Augur, Burgess, Doc Q, Stronger arriving at where Zunisha is. that could be a problem in and of itself, you know what I mean? But a lot of opportunities in the future. So let me know about all that, and let me know how Blackbeard's day at Disney World would go. All right, well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out. Today, I am turning 30. It is my birthday, and yeah, so I guess I'm 30. Oh, my back. Oh, my knee. Oh, everything. Oh, boy. Ugh.